how do you want to feel? Like, how do you feel now and how do you want to feel? Because the feeling is the creation. And so if we're relying on something that we had years ago, and let's say we say, no, but back then I felt really confident. It's not the workouts that are going to give you the confidence. It's the feeling of confidence that's going to attune you to a confident vibration. And then when that becomes your point of attraction of confidence, you're going to get more reasons in your life to feel confident. And you're going to go, what workouts that I did 7 years ago when I ran that PR? Like, that doesn't even matter because I'm confident in who I am and what I'm doing now. And I'm very clear on how I want to move forward.
Being able to experience it and practice being present. How do you do that? In the moments that are distressful, in the moments that you're facing adversity, in the moments that the challenge and the experience is at a heightened level. That is when you relent, you embrace the scenario versus walking away and just saying, oh, I'll do that another day, or I'll come back and do that, or it's just too challenging. It's the challenge that is actually the thing that is allowing us to learn and grow and to get more present.
Welcome back to the show, you guys. I'm Jess. I'm here with Beej and Clark, of course. This is the O Show. It's February 2022. We got some good topics, I think. I'm feeling that they're really good topics, juicy topics, things that we're living in our training and also in our life, and themes that we see through the team of athletes that we work with, humans in general. So, we're more similar than we are different, you guys. Like, when we really get down to the essence of what we traverse in life, I think that's where we really see evidence of this interconnectedness, our human beingness, and perhaps something even beyond our human beingness. So, why are you laughing at me? What happened?
Human being. I can't get human being out of my...
Oh my gosh, yeah.
My old web design client, human bean as in a bean.
B-E-A-N, yeah.
He sold t-shirts with the little bean on it was a human. I can't.
They were really cute shirts. They were beans and they were human beings.
Sorry.
And you weren't a great communicator.
I was
you weren't a really good communicator back then.
At all.
And so
don't pick up the phone, email me. That's the best way.
And the thing is, like, the human being guy was super nice, but like you pushed him to the edge. And and then it was like the human beings were like, they were a source of major stress in our house. Dude, I was on this like smooth professional intro. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right. Welcome back to the show. We're gonna start the show.
All right. Whew.
All right. Let's start the show. Welcome to the show, Beej.
It's good to be here again. I love these shows. I always get amped for these shows.
I do too. And I don't know. I love where they go. We're getting some good feedback on them. And, like swimming, biking, running, meditating, doing yoga, getting in the gap, working with our anger and frustration, working with our joy and love. Like, I hope we're sharing it openly and honestly here.
Tuning into a Bruce Springsteen song last night to...
Do you want to kick it off with this theme? It seems like you want to kick it off.
No, we can kick it off with whatever we want, but it's just like a lot of what we talk about is the things that we talk about. Like, we talk about things a lot in the car.
There's not a lot of surface talk in our relationship. It's either deep or we're not talking at all. Or it's like, please don't talk to me. I need space.
Silence. You're leaving? Oh, yay! Yay! One of us leaves the house for a prolonged period of time. It's pretty awesome.
I feel like the applause usually comes from me.
When I leave the house. Yeah.
I know. I got to get back in that podcast closet.
All right. So what do we want to start with?
Well, it sounds like we're going to start with the glory days because this is something you've been guilty of. Mm-hmm. The glory days. One of the things that we learned in our yoga teacher training is that your mind's not that reliable. It's just not that reliable. So when you look back on things, and this is where the glory days are coming from, it's like what we've realized is that the glory days are not as glorious as you think. And this happens a lot with athletes, you guys. Like, well, the last time I was training for this, I was here. And I want to get back to that because I was so this and that. And it's always interesting when we have been working with the person and we were working with them in that time of the quote unquote glory days, but we remember that the struggles that person was in are the struggles that they're in now, right? So our minds are so funny. They're not as our minds are conditioned. And so the conditioning is what allows them to not be so reliable when we look back on things.
The condition, yes. Yeah, yes. I follow that.
And when I say that you've been guilty of this too, when we first started dating a quarter of a century ago, you used to talk about how buff you were when you were in high school and you were landscaping and your legs were all super big and That
was the key point right there.
Yeah, that your legs were big.
My legs used to be really big.
And you're running and your legs weren't as big. And so I corroborated, is that a word? The stories that you were telling me with the friend that you used to spend a lot of time with back there. And he said that your glory days were not that glorious.
Neither was his. Mike, your glory days were not that glorious either. I was right with you every step of the way. We were not cool.
I kind of do this too. I've been pretty open about just the transformation that I've gone through with my mindset. And I think sometimes I look back, although I don't look back with regret, sometimes I look back and I will glorify how maybe mean I was or angry I was. And so I do that, like when I look back on things and I forget that like the softness that I experience now or the openness or the receptivity that, I lean more into now, that was always there too. Like I always had so much love to give. But I also had a lot of anger. And I think that, maybe things like that get a little more attention or I don't know, but it's a lot more fun to talk about, how I was really good at manipulating people. I was really, really good at it. And
but were you really that good?
I kind of actually think I was. What do you think? I kind of think I was. Like I kind of always got everything I wanted.
Transitioning when we were together. I think you were stepping into maybe this isn't such a good thing.
Well, I remember in massage school, I got the award for most likely to manipulate the teacher. So that was like in my early 30s. That was not high school. That was not the award in high school.
No.
But anyway, sometimes I look back and we're not always seeing the whole picture. So,
my legs, I keep saying they were big. I was landscaping. I would wear my Spartan high school basketball practice jersey and I would go landscape every day. And I thought that my legs were really big back then, but I've seen photos during that time and you've had my friend Mike corroborate the story. They were not that much bigger than they are now. They're pretty much remain the same. So what is this belief that I have that at one time they were
better than they are now?
Right. And and we talk about this too. I mean, this could be a whole podcast too. It's like, you'll never know why. Like if I keep searching down, like, why did I have this thought? Why did I have this belief? I just need to know why first. And you don't need to know why. That's a fruitless journey. You're never going to know why or the absolute reason why things are changing all the time. But for some reason, I just had that belief that at that point in time, like my legs were bigger. So what is the essence of what that means? It means that our memories are really not that accurate, right? And that we can really convince ourselves of a belief and really cling to it. And that can become a story that is then shared with others. And then if not corroborated, becomes the truth. So an untruth becomes the truth. And so now we're down this path of like, well, BJ used to have big legs when he was, landscaping years ago, when that's absolutely false. So I've created this whole thing.
Well, and I think it's also, it holds you in this place of like smallness, like, well, I'm doing the work now, but I don't have the legs that I used to have, or I'm not as fit as, so my potential is therefore limited.
Well, that's that big bag we're dragging with us, right? I'm going to pull out, okay, I used to be like big leg. I used to be fast back then. So I'm just going to drag this with me and tell everybody about how I used to be able to do something, right? I love that we're onto it. Like I love that we're having this discussion, first of all, but also just to be able to see and laugh at myself that I had this belief, and that I'm grateful for you to call me on it and my buddy Mike to corroborate it.
I'm a truth seeker.
But this expands into many things in our lives, right? Like whatever story we really want to tell ourselves. And we see it mostly, as you said, in athletes that say, for instance, the build up to this race was when I was my strongest and fastest. And these are the exact 6 months of training that I did that led me into this position. So what I'm going to do is duplicate those same 6 months of training to get me back to where I was. But we forget about all the other things. Like when you were doing that, you didn't have a baby and you weren't married and you didn't have a full-time job. You were in school. And you had this stressor in your life, and you lived in a colder climate and now you live in a warmer climate, whatever. So that the mind forgets all of those things and it's getting hyper-focused on just the data, right? If we're looking at the plan and saying like these 6 months, I need to do it exactly the same. And so I just don't believe that. I don't believe that needs to be duplicated. I believe that those 6 months got you to that place. And guess what? That also got you to the place you are today. So who you are now. So to go back and repeat that, wouldn't you be repeating all the history up to this point and right back to where you started? I'm just saying hypothetically. So, and I've been guilty of it too. Like looking back at plans and saying this is the exact workouts I did leading into the race. But I know that we're constantly changing. We're constantly changing beings and everything around us is constantly changing. So if we're trying.
We're just human beings.
Just human beings. Oh boy. I had a lot of web clients when I was in web design.
This is a new topic.
Web design. No, I'm thinking about all the things that we could go off in tangents of all the industries that I worked with that we had opportunities with. Circling back to where we are, I've been guilty of it too when I look back at plans and try to duplicate. Because the mind knows, it says like, this was successful back then, so why wouldn't it be successful today? And it very well may well be, but I think the percentages are really, really small. I think, as I said, we're constantly changing. Circumstances are changing. Our bodies, fitness, attitudes, energies are always, nutrition, relationships, jobs, location, geographics. Everything is changing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also what's coming in for me is like, I think it's a great way to not really look at the truth of where you are now.
Right. So
it's kind of like a distraction. Well, if I can just go back there and then, so it's this, it's the thing that we're all doing. We're seeking relief. We're seeking relief when we're in discomfort or we're in pain. We're seeking that relief. And so we're looking at a time that we believe, when we reflect on, was a time that we were not in pain. But the thing is that that's not true, because life was still happening back then. And so, sure, if there's a great workout that you love, I used to train with QT2, and I remember I had this great, it was called the Monster Set. And I loved that swim. I think it had paddle. I can't even remember it now, but I loved it. I felt strong afterwards. And so as I started training with you, I brought that set in, and I used to use it. I can't even remember it at this point. So there's nothing wrong with that, but the acceptance of where we are now and the understanding that, we are always changing. Everything's always changing. Just look at your bank account. You'll see that everything is changing every day. Debits and credits, giving and receiving. This is universal law of circulation. Everything is always moving. And so just be really honest with yourself. Is looking back and revering these glory days a distraction to the work that perhaps could really help move you forward, which is really truth telling of where you are in this moment and getting very clear on how you want to move forward. And when I say how you want to move forward, I'm not necessarily talking about action. I'm talking about how do you want to feel? Like, how do you feel now and how do you want to feel? Because the feeling is the creation. And so if we're relying on something that we had years ago, and let's say we say, no, but back then I felt really confident. It's not the workouts that are going to give you the confidence. It's the feeling of confidence that's going to attune you to a confident vibration. And then when that becomes your point of attraction of confidence, you're going to get more reasons in your life to feel confident. And you're going to go, what workouts that I did 7 years ago when I ran that PR? Like, that doesn't even matter because I'm confident in who I am and what I'm doing now. And I'm very clear on how I want to move forward.
So so if everything's changing, why are we resisting change so much? Why are we resisting the potentiality of possibility, I guess, of who we could become? And instead we focus on who we were. Why are we so resistant to well, because who we're going to become is the unknown and who we were is the known. And so the conditioned mind will always choose the known over the unknown, even if it causes great pain and suffering, because the known says, hey, you did it. This is all the known, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's all the known. And this is what that equaled. So just repeat that and then we'll get the same result. But the thing is, that's not going to happen because you're different. You're different now. It doesn't mean that you can't take those things, but if you're looking back on those things as your answer to feel and succeed the way you did back then, that's not the answer. The success and the confidence and how you want to feel is available to you right now. You got to start leaning into it. And to start leaning into it, you got to be aware. You got to be aware of the thoughts that you're indulging. You got to be aware of the words that you're using. You got to be aware of the actions that you're taking. You really got to be aware of how you're feeling. And what are you avoiding? What are you avoiding? And what I mean by that is like, are you truly accepting where you are now? Are you, no.
And when it's acceptance, it's not like, fine, I accept it, but like, are you fully embracing who you are right now with a love that is unconditional? And unconditional love is very accepting. It's not, we think about love, we think about romantic love, we think about conditional love, right? Like, I love you, BJ, until you lie to me. I love you, BJ, until you cheat on me. I love you, BJ,
that's condition. Condition after condition.
Yes, that's, I love you until you do this thing that does not go along with what I believe that you should be or do. That's a whole
nother thing.
No, that's just a whole amazing thing about how we come together as couples. And really, I think the demise of many relationships, there's some goodness in there. But anyway, so unconditional love sees everyone as as capable, right? I see you as capable, BJ. Like, that's why, in your dark night of the soul, 5 years ago or so, I just stood by you while you suffered. And it was so painful to do that, but I knew you were capable, right? Like, I allowed you, if I start opening up the cocoon to set you free, you're going to fall to the ground. You're not going to make it. You got to have the struggle. You got to have the struggle, and the struggle's okay. So wherever you are right now, like, this is where you are. And any denial of that or non-acceptance of that is basically kind of wishing for another now. And that's just not going to get you anywhere.
It's not. And actually, as you're saying that, the dreams or this like romanticism of where you were in the past, why would you want to get right back to where you were before? Don't you want to be further along in the process or let's talk about athletes, like stronger and faster than you were in that process? So if you're going back to repeat that same thing, you're limiting yourself to only be as good as you were back then. If history repeats itself.
Yeah.
And which is what we don't want.
Well, we've said this before, right? The known is where all your limits are, and the unknown is where all your possibilities are.
Yeah. But it's this, I know we're really diving into this, but it's this.
Well, we're either going to dive in or we're going to be silent.
I know.
So.
Well, it's not talk.
We're just going to let it run out.
The unknown, the fear of the unknown can be so heavy.
Paralyzing.
The fear can paralyze you. What was that from? It's from something I used to listen to.
Another one of your clients.
A lot. But it can be so paralyzing where you do exactly what you said, as you go back to what's familiar, even if it's uncomfortable. And I believe, speaking from personal experience is that once you embrace this, it's okay. It's unknown. It's okay. Like, I understand I'm opening myself to a lot of possibilities. Once you accept that more often, you choose that more often, you're present more often, you're using unconditional love more often because you don't have conditions on how things have to be. You start to have this like relaxing of the limits that you've created. And now you're expanding into what's actually possible. And I love that because speaking about swimming, we always come back to swimming. I don't know, swimming is this thing that's a reoccurring theme that has been
I might
really
need a day off from swimming.
Powerful. You do need
I just need a day off. I'm in the fatigue locker right now. And it's fine. It's perfect. Like, it's perfect level of fatigue. But I need a little rest.
Yeah.
I'm not swimming tomorrow.
But I guess it's any sport that we do intervals, and you keep doing interval and interval and interval, and there's a time that comes in your body and you're like, okay, well, that's enough. And then if you're awake to that moment, then you can actually be there and see, like, is it a pattern that you're creating that this is enough, or you saw somebody else do this many, so now you're going to stop at this many. And it's really just being there when this intense moment happens so that you can decide to just inch your way into the unknown, because you don't know what's past this moment. You're feeling discomfort, not pain. You're feeling discomfort, and you begin to just keep going and see how far you can push that limit. For me, that was yesterday. That second ride I did, where I was just feeling like I can do this. I know I can. Like, it's a mindset thing. I know I can do this. My legs, yeah, they're tired, but I can still turn over the pedals, and I'm going to turn over the pedals until I can't turn over the pedals any longer. And that never happens. It never happens. It really doesn't. So when you can, my point is, like, when you can rationalize with yourself, like, just push yourself to the point where it's very dummied down into what could happen. Like, just if you stop pedaling, you stop. But really, you're never going to stop pedaling, because it's really just it's not the body, it's the mind, if that makes sense. So I've kind of topsy-turvied this, and I know I'm taking it to a little bit of an extreme, but I've topsy-turvied it to be a point where I just want to see how far I can go. I'm okay with whatever happens. Whatever that means. I'm okay with whatever happens. And that's taken me a long time to get to. And that's my relationship with it right now. But it sort of gives me a sense of ease and comfort. It's actually comfortable to just say, I'm handing myself over to this session. I'm just going to keep going until I can't go anymore.
Well, you have, I don't know if you've healed or cultivated, let's go cultivated a relationship with failure. Because that's essentially what you're risking. You're risking failure.
Yep.
Right? So, but we have to have failure, because if we don't have failure, how will we ever know success?
Contrast.
Yeah. Contrast. I think this is actually a really good segue into the next thing we want to talk about, which is Bill, who is on Team Yogi Triathlete. He's been with us for, a few years now. Yeah, years now, Bill. And we're finally going to be able to meet him in Mendocino in April. So I'm so excited for that. And just for the record, nobody needs to ask if I'm hugging, because I never stopped.
So watch out, Bill.
Watch out, Bill. I'm coming for you. Bill wrote a really amazing article called How Not to Quit. And it is on LinkedIn, and I'm going to put a link in the show notes. And it was really thoughtful that he wanted to share that with us for our reflection and perhaps to share on the O Show. And I think that it's a very important topic to talk about, how not to quit. And so he talks about how, it's like, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. But like, nobody teaches you how not to quit.
The very thing that we...
And I think that...
talk about all the time.
This really resonates with us because we kind of came together on this, like, we got to teach the how. We got to teach the how on training the mind, because it's more than just pushing through a hard workout, right? Like, because I think when we train the mind in that way solely, we're just flexing the muscle of enduring, which is you're just waiting for something to change. You're just waiting for the finish line. You're waiting for the set. And there's a lack of embracing the present moment when you're enduring. Now, there's a time to endure, for sure. So that is not something that I'm negating. That's a really important piece. We're going to go race a 30-mile race or 50-mile race or 140-mile race. Like, there's going to be moments where you're enduring. There's going to be, you're in a human body that is hardwired for safety and comfort. There's going to be a time where you're like, oh my God, where's the finish line? And the better you are at, having that endurance as a backup, the less likely you are to quit. And I say backup because there's something much more powerful that I think can be in the forefront, which Bill talks about in this article, which is your ability to be present. And so he reflects on he tells a great story about a swim run event that his friend organized, and he lives down in Florida where they're, swimming in the ocean, and then they're going to go to an island. They're going to run across the island. They're going to get into another channel. They're going to swim. They're going to run across. It sounds amazing. And something that happens, and I don't want to give it away. I want you guys to go and read the article. It's really good. And basically the moment where the doubt creeps in, and, he's just not in his rhythm anymore. And it's like, quitting is on the table, right? Not that he wanted to quit, but in the mind, it's like, at mile 18 of the marathon and an Ironman that if you stop, the pain's going to go away. If you quit, that physical pain is going to end.
Physical pain.
Yeah, physical pain. So Bill does something that I have done my whole life, which I have found so effective when I'm trying to either make a decision or in a situation like this where the mind is screaming like, stop, oh my God, I can't take anymore, is how am I going to feel on the other side? How am I going to feel when I'm at the finish line in my street clothes and all my friends are crossing the finish line? How am I going to feel? What is that going to be painless? Is that, and does that type of pain override the physical pain that drove me to quit? I think about how I'm going to be on the other end of the decision. And that's something I've done since I was a kid. And it works really well for me. But the piece of the not quitting, which is presence, presence is, it's timeless. It's not past or future. It's right now. It can't be measured. And it's the only place where the ego cannot exist. Because the ego it's our uniqueness. It's the part of us that keeps me separate from you, or that I believe that I'm separate from the guy that lives down the street that I've never even met. Like, oh, that's my neighbor. It denies our interconnectedness. It's really important because it's our individuality. It makes me and makes you, and it makes us the podcasters and the people who are listening, the listeners. Because without those roles, this isn't going to work. We need listeners and we need the hosts. We need that. We need the interviewer and the interviewee. But it bases everything on time, past or future. So in the present moment, We're free of that. And it's also our small self, our lower self.
The ego is.
The ego is, yeah. And, but presence is like everything in mental training. We gotta practice it all the time because it requires a one-pointed focus where you can fully be in the experience of now, independent of the commentary of the mind. Think about that, right? So you're in pure experience, independent of the commentary. Notice I say that the commentary doesn't have to stop because it's not going to stop. It's still going to be screaming. But if all your focus is in the experience, you're not even going to be able to hear it. And this is something you need to practice like every day, and not just on your meditation cushion, throughout the day, being in experience and presence. I've made this quote so many times, has been identified as, the essence of the psychology of peak performance in sport. So I would think that would be of particular interest for athletes to learn how to strengthen their ability to be and to remain present, especially in the face of an experience where quitting's on the table. What are your thoughts?
I think back to what his theme was like, no one told you how to be present. I think we're on this belief that we'll get present once we are able to stop the thoughts. Like once I'm able to stop thinking and all the catastrophizing of things, once I can do that, then I'll be present. But the actual work is in right now. And this is where people give up way too soon. Way too early when they're just getting to the good stuff. Because yes, it is hard. If you're not practicing presence, expect it to be hard. Like when you start to...
Expect it to be impossible.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
If you can be present once or twice a day after listening to this, if you're not someone who's normally present, if you can do it once or twice, celebrate that. That's amazing. But you're still going to have this flood of communication going back and forth and mind chatter going on that says you're not good enough. This is not the right time. You got to check your social media. There's tons of other things to do. But this is the very moment, and Bill talks about the very experience where you're immersed and given this gift of practicing it, like being able to experience it and practice being present. How do you do that? In the moments that are distressful, in the moments that you're facing adversity, in the moments that the challenge and the experience is at a heightened level. That is when you relent, you embrace the scenario versus walking away and just saying, I'll do that another day, or I'll come back and do that, or it's just too challenging. It's the challenge that is actually the thing that is allowing us to learn and grow and to get more present. So for me, that's what I take away from it. Like, you're never going to stop this stuff. I have stuff all the time that's in my head. I guess I'm the only one. That is constantly trying to shift and move my direction into other ways. But I choose to shift my awareness away from all that stuff to something that's happening now.
Well, and that's it right there. That's the mental training. Those are the reps right there. Is when you find yourself focusing. So for most people, thoughts and focus, let's say focus and awareness are interchangeable, okay? Yeah, thoughts and focus are glued together.
Stuck together.
Yeah, their whole life. Like awareness and thoughts. Their whole life, the majority of their life, their awareness is on their thought life. Now there are moments. A baby is born. Somebody leaves the earth. Something really startling happens, either positive or negative. Those will shock you into presence. A puppy, those will shock you into presence. And, but for most people, the identification with the mind is primary for their whole life, right? This is where we get decision fatigue. This literally will make you crazy. So the mental training is pulling the awareness away from the thought life and onto something else. In this case, we're talking about pure experience. So that's the training right there. It's going to go back to the thoughts because that's what we've practiced. Bring it back to something else. Breath, mantra, the physical experience, the feeling you're having, whatever it may be. So anything besides the thoughts. Anything besides the commentary. And it's going to go back and you're going to pull it again. And it's going to go back and you're going to pull it again. And these are the reps every day. This is the training. So when somebody says, I can't meditate because my mind's too busy, it's like, you're not even doing the training because the training is, oh, it's on the thoughts again. Okay, I'm going to put it on the breath. Oh, it's on the thoughts again. Okay, I'm going to put it on the breath. So like you said, they score too early and they quit. They quit on meditation all the time. I see it all the time. Very, very, very few people will stay the course. Very few people will stay the course. And that is not like a punch to people. It's just, that's the nature of this world. It just is. It's very purposeful. This earth is very purposeful.
Not many people are talking about, like, it's like, if this is new to you, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, like that seems so clear. It's because it's not talked about enough.
Right. Because there's only about 1% of the people that are really staying the course. But everybody will stay the course at some point in their evolution. So I'm going to leave this earth at some point, and then, it's not like the 1%'s going to go down. Like there's going to be somebody else that rises up and says, okay, I'm awake now and I'm going to live awake. But yeah, that's the training right there is training the awareness to be on something other than the thoughts. And then Bill gives some really good, kind of steps that he goes through. And it reminds me of when we had Lisa Roberts on and she was talking about HALT, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Am I all of those things, right? Don't make a decision when you're there. And so Bill goes through some of those. Like the first one is assess, am I in danger? Am I hurt, right? Like when the mind is saying quit, stop, end the pain, he's like, well, hold on a second here. What's the truth? And really, in those moments where everything is screaming stop, or everything is screaming, go back to sleep and don't be awake through this experience in your life, what's the truth? Show me the truth. Show me the truth of a situation. And when we're fully present and we're free of the ego, we're free of the small self, as Eckhart Tolle says, there's no problems in the now. You have no problems in the now. And if you're like, that statement is untrue, I challenge you to prove that it is untrue.
Yeah. So stop what you're doing right now and just take a breath. Was there any problem right there? Was there any problem?
But you don't understand, BJ. I got to pay this bill today and I don't know where I'm going to get the money.
That's in the future.
Yeah, and anything can happen in an instant.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, so check it out. It's a great article, super well written, which I appreciate, and I like his techniques. And the thing is that the solution is so simple. I'm not saying it's easy. It's simple, but the mind is very complicated. So we're taking something really simple and we're putting it into a complicated organism. So we got to remember that we got to really imprint this, that the solution is simple. It's not fancy. Just like the work that it takes to achieve a physical goal, athletic goal, the work is very simple.
Everybody that we've interviewed, professional athlete, coach, in this environment, it's very simple. They just do simple things over and over again. Mm-hmm. There isn't like this secret workout or secret, hydration drink that you take in that's automatically going to change things. It's very simple. It's very
Although I would
methodical.
Probably order that if they had it.
Oh, yeah, I think. Well, wouldn't everybody?
Just on the days where I'm like, you know what, universe, I just don't want to learn anything new today. Just give me the drink that's going to let me run a 6-minute mile, and I won't use it every day. But
it's not about running the 6 minute.
But then you take a drink, and then you're like, well, I'll just use it again tomorrow, and I'll use it again tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
how
good.
not to quit. Yeah, it's good. And and the other thing that I really like, it is on LinkedIn, is he then basically translates it to business. And that really hit home for me when I think about how we stayed the course with Yogi Triathlete when everything said, you guys are stupid idiots.
Bonkers. Yeah.
You guys are stupid idiots. Nobody wants to hear what you're saying. Nobody wants to sit still. Nobody wants to do your yoga flow. Nobody wants to breathe. Nobody wants to coach with you.
No one wants to eat your recipes.
And we were like, nobody wants to eat your recipes. Nobody cares that they don't want all the copies of the keys to the kingdom that you've made and you thought you were going to hand them out to everybody. Nobody wants this. And we were like,
okay.
No. We need to stay the course, and that's one thing I remember in yoga teacher training. Philip was talking about how when you first go out and you're going to start teaching, he was like, you're going to teach like me, like you're going to emulate me. It's just what you're going to do. I'm your teacher. This is what you're going to do. He said, but eventually you got to shake that off, and you'll find your voice, because you're not me. And your students are not my students. And your students are waiting for you. They are waiting for you to be more of who you are. And in that time when everything said, you guys are stupid idiots for continuing because you're running out of money and there's zero response, we took that time to say, okay, we're moving into more of who we are. We have to be more of who we are. We've got to lean into more of who we are. We're going to trust that the money's not going to run out because we still have food in the refrigerator. What's the truth of this moment? We have a roof over our heads. We're healthy. I just went out for a run along the Pacific Ocean. Like, we have no problems right now. Yeah, it's, the big picture is a little dicey, but in our hearts, we knew we had to stay the course. And that time was us leaning into who we were. And we needed to learn an extraordinary lesson in humility, which is what we learned. And I think that it allowed us to drop a lot of ego and, be confident enough to say, hey, listen, we're not trying to sell you a program here that you're going to have to be on for the rest of your life. What we're telling you is that you have everything you need inside of you right now. Right now, you have everything, and we can help guide you towards that every day. So I love that. That really hit home with me because we did stay the course. And
because it's so easy to, get all caught up in like, well, these people aren't coming and these people aren't coming, but they're still in this environment. Like, why aren't they coming? And it's kind of like put you a little bit at ease that says, well, the alignment isn't there. They're not your people.
They're not my students.
And that's totally cool. That's totally fine. That's great. And
there's so many
it's kind
students.
of like a relief. Like, it's like, oh, great. I don't have to work so hard. And I'll speak for me, when I started to do that, it was like, well, then the people started to come in that were aligned with what you and I were focusing on and sharing with people. Like, and it's simply just what we lived. We were just sharing how we lived, the work that we were doing on ourselves. And then people were like, okay, well, I want some of that. Sign me up. Mm-hmm. But you got to be patient, and you got to release this must be, it must be a certain way, and getting caught up in why not, right? Back to what I was saying. It doesn't matter why not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And not taking score too soon, And
definitely not taking score.
Bill talks about that in this article. Like, you're in a presentation with a prospective client, and I mean, this is so teaching yoga, right? Or so like coaching camp. And you're looking across the table and they're just like, it's like dead stare, or they're frowning, and like, don't give up on your hard work. Don't give up on your presentation. Follow up after the meeting. Like, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And the things that you think you have in the bag. And we've seen this so many times, like athletes email us and they're like, I'm ready. Like, I'm all in. I'm going to join the team. And if you cling too much to that, like, or you go, oh my God, this is great. I can't wait. And how many times they haven't come, right? And then, but if you cling too much, then you're like, well, what did I do wrong? And so like, anything can happen. The things that you think you have in the bag, you don't necessarily have in the bag, right? Like, and the things that you don't think you have in the bag, like, You just wait. You could be pleasantly surprised at the outcome. So stay present, like stay in the present moment and do the work. Let your yes be yes. Like you sign up for the event. My God, please train for the event and show up for the event. Please train for the event. You sign up for the event, train for the event, show up for the event. Like let your yes be yes. Because you've got some basic laws of science here that say cause and effect. And if we're giving up on things, we're not showing up for the work, we're not doing what we say we're going to do, those boomerangs are going to come back, and it's going to get easier and easier and easier for us to quit and not show up. And that's going to lead to misery. Eventually you'll wake up, but you can do it with a lot less misery.
Yeah, and sooner. Much quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I want to switch topics here. Final topic. I want to talk about, this is kind of cool. I like how this has manifested. We have I don't even know, 13 or something athletes that are now running the Mendocino Ultramarathon. And a lot of those are also triathletes that are training for 70.3 Oceanside, 70.3 Texas. Ironman, St. George. So here we are, and so Mendo is in April, and now here you are. I feel like I'm partially responsible for this. Here you are, I've now become back into becoming I'm a triathlete, training like a triathlete now, but also training for Mendo. So how are you titrating this load of work? And you're one of the athletes. You're doing Oceanside, you're doing Mendo, and then you're doing Ironman St. George.
Yeah, in a matter of a month.
How is it possible?
A little over a month.
That we can be successful at this?
Well, first off, it's the consistency. You got to be consistently building and trusting that everything you're doing is moving you closer to that goal. And looking at you guys in the poll today was really cool. All 5 of us were doing some races coming up, some triathlons, but we're all doing Mendocino.
So we had 5 triathletes all training for an ultramarathon.
All doing 4K in the pool today, 4,000 yards.
I love it. There was a little bit of a group text. And we didn't even get a picture or whatever. And Laura said that she blacked out. She's like, I don't know. I blacked out at the end.
Yeah, she was like, what just happened? Or was that Daniel was like, what just happened?
It was definitely a what just happened swim. It was a hefty load.
It was good. It was good. It was a good load to put on our bodies. So to your question, okay, so you want to merge the sports of ultra running and triathlon. And we talked to Lisa Roberts about this too, because she's doing it. She's going from triathlon to ultra running. But I think, and this is what I come up a lot against is people who have done, ultras before. They're like, well, I was running this huge volume. I was getting a ton of, big hours in and big miles in on my legs. But when you begin to merge the two together, you're doing other things in triathlon. So you're doing most likely 2 sessions a day. Most likely. Definitely 1 every day. Most often 2 sessions a day. So how do you balance that, that belief that, what we were talking about before, I ran all these miles and now I'm not running as many miles, but I've actually added swimming and cycling and yoga, if they're working with us, to the training plan. Well, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a healthy thing. I think it's, allowing the body to, stay healthy and do cross training and to build fitness and speed in other ways than just the hard pounding of your legs on the trails and roads. So I think I was explaining to you, maybe if you ran, 6 or 7 days before and the weekends were 5 and 6 hour back-to-back runs, now you've got to incorporate cycling and swimming into the program. Swimming, beautiful, beautiful place to add recovery. Also a beautiful place to add intensity and get that upper aerobic or anaerobic system charged. Low impact on the body. You really can become like a diesel engine when you begin to really add lots of swimming to your program. I love it too because of, flexibility of the ankles when you use fins, the compression of the water. It's great for recovery. And then cycling, like really good place to build strength. Hills or big gear work and not the pounding that running is going to put on the legs. So if you can get in some elevation rides on the bike, great opportunity to stay healthy, right? Not get as many niggles as you may have gotten when you boosted up your running volume too quickly. And then add the runs, add a 2 or 3 hour run, maybe a 4 hour run, and do plenty of walking.
And get on the trails, because nothing's going to replace that, pounding. You got to pound.
You definitely got to get on the trails. You got to do the ups. You got to do the downs, and tax your legs. But the supplemental stuff that you're getting from the cycling and swimming is probably where a regular ultra runner would just be putting in easy days out there on the road or trails.
Yeah, I mean, my weekly mileage right now for running is about 30 miles, and then I'm walking probably an additional 10 miles last week, so about 40 miles. But in the past, my running mileage had been more like 50s, and when I was not training for triathlon too. And now, admittedly, my bike has gone way down because my swim has gone way up. Like I'm swimming, last week I swam over 12,000 yards, so I'm swimming a lot more. But like today I think was the perfect example. So I'm definitely in the fatigue locker right now. Like my body is fatigued. I'm carrying a big workload right now. Thank God for presence, or I was saying that today as we were soaking in the hot tub. Like thank God for presence, because without it I'd be super overwhelmed with everything that's on my plate, but I'm not overwhelmed at all. But there is still there's that psyche, I'm holding all of that. Like, okay, I got to get this done, creating this, new program, things like that. And so last night I went out for a run, and it was my 100% my mind. What?
That was probably not the worst. It's probably the most challenged I've seen you in wanting to get out the door.
Fatigued.
Which isn't rarely if it ever happens.
I was my physical body, not me, my physical body, this house that I live in was so fatigued last night. And I went out and ran. And it was so funny because I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but I started running and I was almost pissed because I felt fine. I was tired, but there's nothing in my body that hurts. And then this morning did a treadmill workout with, I don't even know, what was that treadmill? It was intervals. Is it intervals?
3 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
And 1.5 off.
Yeah. And so I did that. And then I crank up the elevation on the treadmill after the run, and then I walk going at an incline. And then I'm got into the car. I almost felt like I had a couple beers. My whole body was numb. That's the only way I can describe it. And then I got in the pool for a 4K set. But how amazing to, this is the word I used in the car, to safely dig myself deeper into this hole of fatigue with this 4K swim. That was amazing. So I wasn't pounding the body, but I'm still putting on a load on the body. And then I'm going to recover tomorrow. And I know I'm going to bounce pretty quick.
First thing is, you didn't know you were getting 4K today in the pool, right? You had no idea. You knew you were getting in the pool, but you really didn't know how much or what the set was or anything like that. No,
because past experience says we swim until 12.
Yeah, but we swam past that.
Yeah.
Well, we entered the pool at 10:40, 10:45, so it was late.
Remind me to never choose lanes that you don't get booted out of because Masters comes in at
right.
noon. I was like, we are so screwed because it's noon and he's not stopping and we're not getting booted.
Yeah, Laura took her cap off and you were like...
I know, I was like, let's take a tubby.
I'm like, no, we're not done yet. You can be done, but we're not done yet. The other thing was, this is what I love about our relationship as coach, athlete, and husband, wife, and partners and soulmates, is that I know all this chatter that you had yesterday about being fatigued, and
I'm there.
I know we were I can see that we were we're coming on to this break so that you can absorb the fitness. But I knew last night's workout and today's workouts were important because it was pushing. I know your personality. I know this is just chatter. And I know when you get to the other side of this, you're going to be extremely grateful that you did keep going, through that. And it's just right. It was just the mind chatter. It was just temporary. Yeah, you were healthy, but you just didn't feel like maybe doing it at that time, especially at night. But you did it. And I knew that if you got to this point, this is where now you're going to get even a bigger bang.
Totally. And
fitness.
I'm all for the big bang. Like I have no plans of going to Mendocino. And like my plan at Mendocino is to have a personal best. You know, I broke 7 hours last year and now I want to break that time. Like I want to I love to race. I love to be competitive. And so you better believe that's always in my mind. Like last night, I'm like, this is the difference. This is what makes the difference. This 3-mile run, which included 6 hill repeats, by the way, up a long hill in the lagoon. But I felt fine. I felt actually really good. It was only 3 miles, but I was like that. And within that 3 miles were these, 6 hill repeats. But I was like, this is where the difference is made. This is it. This is your Mendo PR right here, right here.
This is merging your yes with action. So this is merging belief and desire. Belief and desire. Your belief is that you're going to have a PR. And your desire was tested last night. Do I go out for this one? Go out for the run. That is where the magic, that's like the moment right there where you choose to keep going. Now, in the brain, whether you believed it or not, just got, a few, bicep curls that said, I'm moving and doing everything I can to give me my best PR performance come Mendocino. So in Mendocino, when you're on the headlands and you've got 3 miles left and the wind is blowing and you look at your watch and you're like, oh, well, I'm actually really close. Pull upon that moment when you committed to yourself and your belief that you can achieve a PR at Mendocino, your fastest time. And you'll be able to surge. Doesn't matter what fitness you have at that point or how fatigued you are. Your mind will say, I'm going to run these 3 miles the fastest I can to get that goal achieved. But it starts with what you did last night.
Oh,
well, it started
huge.
A long time ago, but
yeah, like last night and then backing it up this morning with that workout, getting up at 5, getting my meditation practice in, hitting the treadmill and not half-assing it, but like full on doing it, and then showing up in the pool and thought we were going for a tubby, and then I realized that we still had I don't even know, another it was more. It was I had
you did 8:25s. We did 16.
Oh, that's because you're faster. Plus, took my snorkel off. I was like, that's good. I'm good. And then, yeah. Anyway. But that's where the difference is made, and I find great joy in showing up for myself and being very clear on what I love. And I love to race, and I love to race well for me, relative to me. And I love to leave it all out there. And I love that. And so I that's always driving me every day to, give my best. Train the mind, train the body.
And to wrap up the ultra runners and triathlon, the merging of those two communities, I think, or the training, I think it's really a good place to set up shop, set your tent up in. Really good place to space to play in both arenas, because you can get really durable and doing it without running with heavy miles on your legs. A lot can be done in cycling and swimming. Yeah. So we're going to continue to explore that, and we've got a whole team of athletes who are dabbling in both. I think half our team does both. Yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. It's so fun. I love it.
I think I've really embraced the trails and getting out there and last Friday we went out and kind of got lost a little bit, and the hour and a half turned into 2 hours and 15 minutes with some extra climbing. And it was just like, just keep trail. It's just trail running. We're going to release.
Yeah, but don't think that because we're doing a 7-mile run that it's going to be the pace that you're doing on the road. It's always longer.
No. Pacing. Yeah. It doesn't, no, but it was the time. It was the length of the experience.
Yeah. There was a lot of pivoting.
Yeah.
Pivoting.
There's some construction on the trails.
Yeah. All right. That's it.
Great.
For today.
That was good. I like that conversation. Yeah, if you're, what was the first topic we talked about?
Human being.
Oh, no.
Glory Days.
Glory Days. We put on Bruce Springsteen last night to play Glory Days.
And he's talking about like high
everything
school.
About it, yeah.
And I used to see that a lot with massage clients. When I was in high school, I was like crushing it. I was quarterback. And I was like, yeah, but dude, you're like 35, you got 3 kids now, you're working your fingers to the bone, and you haven't exercised in 7 years. So yeah, your back's going to be sore. It's so we all do it. But
you got to be onto yourself doing it.
Yeah.
And think about how many, that may be just a sports story, but how much other stuff are you bringing around with you? I found I was bringing a ton of stuff with me, specifically the big legs of the landscaper.
Yeah, or lack thereof.
Lack thereof.
All right.
That's true.
Let us know if you have any questions or topics you want us to dive into. Anything that left you wanting more from today. Let us know. I don't know how we can support you.